Welcome to the Life Science Success Podcast. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Don, and I'm a consultant in life sciences. And I help companies overall with strategy, people, process, and technology with 5280 Life Sciences. One of the things that we talk a lot about is scaling. And at the very bottom of this slide that you see currently on the screen, it essentially has a link that will take you to a page that allows you to sign up for a frequent webinar series that I'm running on scaling organizations. And so that can be found at thescalingmethod.com/thoughts at scale. So with that, let me bring in my guest for today. The guest that we have today with us is Cristian Massacesi. Cristian is the Chief Medical Officer and Oncology Chief Development Officer at AstraZeneca. And today we're going to discuss his start in oncology, his career path, and the current trends in technology. And so with that, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Don, and thanks for having me. Great pleasure to spend the next hour with you.
Yeah, thanks a lot for being here. And would you just take a moment and tell the listeners just a little bit about yourself?
Sure, sure. I'm Italian. I was born and raised in Italy, part of a large family, and actually, I'm still very grateful to my family because they supported my passions. One of these passions have always been science. Science and human connection. This is, I think, the reason why I ended up to become a medical doctor. And then in the medicine school, I always been moved by challenges. The most challenging specialty was oncology. At that time, oncology was really at the beginning, and I decided to become an oncologist. I did my training not only in Italy. I did part of it in UK, London, and then in United States. And then ultimately, I decided to come back practice in Italy. That was my path as oncologist. And then there was a moment in which I really realized that my true, real passion was clinical research. And the everyday clinic, was not allowing me really to fulfill that deep passion that I had. And pharma came in. I would say by chance, but I realized that pharma would give me the time and actually the opportunities to do in a larger scale this dream of mine that was doing clinical research. And after that year, now is almost 20 years I am in this business. I never regret a single day that decision at the time. Of course, that required for me to move out from Italy. Is 20 years I'm out of Italy. I went to the United States. I spent some time in France. Then I came back in US. Now all my family is my close family is here in US now. But I'm happy. I'm happy about that decision because I think this is give me purpose of bringing new medicines to patients that are in need.
Yeah, I think about that in terms of the journey that somebody that is a medical doctor, would take. And I guess the one question that I have is, do you miss kind of the human connection that you had with patients? Because now you're separated somewhat, but you get to touch many more lives right now in the role that you have.
You are spot on. I miss it. I miss it. I had a lot of patients, and actually, the human connection you have with the patients is a unique thing that
Mhm.
you get in this relationship because they put all their trust, and especially when a patient has a cancer, is very different than I don't know a cold. So this is you really feel the responsibility, but you feel empowered. This is a unique, and this is what I missed more, especially the first years. But then, Don, I was potentially helping a few hundred patients every year. Now, every time myself or my teams bring new cancer medicines to an approval, I'm happy. I'm happy to say that I can help thousands and thousands of patients. And the scale is very different. And I went fortunately multiple times to approvals of new cancer medicines, even in settings very difficult like pediatric cancers. and everything that are sometimes are really high medical needs. And I feel very proud when you have a new drug approved and accessible to patients, to cancer patients. This matters. This matters to patients and matters for multiple patients. So I miss that human direct connection with the patients, but on the other way around, I think what I can do is larger in scale, and so making me feel happy.
Yeah, it's I mean, and you know, one, I do think that it takes a very special person to have that interaction with the patient at such a critical time in their life, right? I mean, they're dealing with a life-threatening disease, and it takes a very unique individual to do that. But I also think it takes very unique individuals to do kind of the back end, work behind the scenes to bring drugs to market as well, to help think of, ahead of all of the challenges that you're going to run into, overall as an organization. Reflecting on your journey, whenever I think about it, what are some of the key challenges that you faced, and how did you overcome them to bring you to where you currently are?
Yeah, may continue this journey. When I joined pharma, I was very much out of my comfort zone because, of course, your technical skills, you know oncology, you know medicine, you know drug development a little bit, some parts of drug development. The first thing you need to learn the other aspects of drug development that you don't touch when you just are in clinical research in academia. That was an important steep learning curve. You need to start to understand the business aspects of the work because, of course, this is an industry. But I'm curious by nature. This is really what, and I really like challenges. So that was for me actually a motivational aspects of keep going in this job. And I'm happy to say that I did well in that path. Currently, I have two roles, as you mentioned in introduction. I am the Chief Medical Officer in AstraZeneca and also for oncology, the Chief Development Officer. So this makes my day very busy. So one challenge I have on daily basis is the prioritization. I need to be very rigorous in the way I prioritize my calendar, the way I prioritize the workload every day. Also because this is not a sprint; it's a marathon.
Mm.
So you need to have a sustainable way of working. You need to do the same with your teams and be sure that you can really deliver, but in a sustainable way. One thing that in my day I never give up is time for people. Everything goes through people. You can have the best portfolio in industry, you can have the most innovative company, but people that do things. So this is why I try to be very rigorous in keeping at least 30% of my time in a week dedicated to people, talking to people, understanding, helping them, and every time you speak with someone, you learn something. So this is also another aspect that I really enjoy.
Yeah, it's really interesting to hear how, I mean, and in terms of number of people, I think that maybe you should give people an idea of the size of the organizations that you lead as
Mm.
well, because I think that this point about, hey, look, I segment my day purposefully to make sure that I have that direct connection with people as well. So would you mind sharing that?
Sure, sure. It's a very complex. I don't want to go too much into detail. A company like AstraZeneca has about 80,000 employees across the world, different function. I work in R&D, in research and development. Of course, and my work is going, especially for oncology, taking products that are safe enough and have some preliminary signal of efficacy to the approval. And then the organization, there is an organization that is taking care for the access, for the commercialization of this product. So I really work in R&D. And then I have a large group that is the group that taking care of the safety of every product, not only in oncology. So overall, my group is about more than 3,000 people, and they are all over the world. because the clinical trials that we are using to bring medicine to approval are run globally in every country. So I have teams in every country of the world, in most of the countries of the world, not every, in most of the countries of the world. And it's very important for me to go and talk with these people and visiting them. Of course, the headquarters are in the United States, are in UK. We have an headquarters also in Sweden, but we have multiple offices around the world. So part of my job is also traveling and visiting these teams, talking with this team, understanding also how the teams are operating in their region, in their area, and try to facilitate their work and also understand what are the challenges and opportunities in these places. So this is how the job is organized. So you can understand how rich is the interaction I have with my teams when we do the business reviews, when we discuss, and is enriching also for me personally, because every trip I learn something. When I go to India, when I go to China, in Japan, in Europe, and so this is how it's organized.
Yeah, well, thank you very much for sharing that, because I think it provides important context whenever it comes to as an organization grows, you have to be more thoughtful in terms of, okay, so how do I make sure that out of this I get not just the presentation of a business review, but I get that direct connection with the people as well around the world. It's a challenge, and culturally it shifts for you, I'm sure, as you go around the world as well, in terms of the connection that you need to have as well with people.
There is nothing more than clicking and get a connection with your teams. They need to trust you, and you need to understand how you can help them. So and sometimes yeah, it's an effort for me, for some people in my team. Of course, I'm not doing this job alone. It's important to get there and get connected with them, and sometimes let them come here in the headquarters. Drug development is a team sport.
Hmm.
Is not an individual player sport. So you need to have strong teams, and the teams needs to play well together. Is the only way to win. Is the only way really to achieve what you need to achieve, because you need the expertise of different kind individuals that need to be able to work together. And this is sometimes part of my job, make this interaction, this collaboration more efficient. I have to tell you, I'm very happy in AstraZeneca, like in other company I've been, because this spirit is what is how we function. So it's very important that teams are at the center of everything we do, and then of course they will deliver the projects, obviously.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that brings me to my next question as well. As I think about your role as the oncology chief development officer at AstraZeneca, what are some of the critical aspects of leading such a vast and dynamic field?
So oncology probably is the therapeutic area in medicine today where there is a very, very live and exciting research. We learned a lot in the last 20 years. We learned a lot on the biology of cancer. We understood much better what is cancer, how cancer survive, how cancer can really um, is able to adapt, and despite you use different treatment, ultimately, unfortunately, wins. So, because we have a better understanding of biology, we have been able thanks to technology also, we have been able to engineer and to develop new treatments. And I think we did a great progress in oncology, great progress. There are some tumors that are very different today compared to 20 years ago, in terms of survival times, in terms of treatment opportunity, in terms sometimes just to make a disease a chronic disease, like it is another disease, in other therapeutic areas. So that said, it's still a very challenging therapeutic area, because especially if the tumor is diagnosed at an advanced stage, unfortunately, is going to lead to death. So this is what is at the bottom line, the what we do, what I do. I try to understand how we can develop and bring to cancer patient new medicine that can help to transform the outcome of cancer. And there is a difficult, very difficult thing to do, because it's becoming more and more complex, because the biology is better understood, but is incredibly complex. The cancer biology is incredibly wide, and to tackle that, you need a broad approach. Then you need to have the treatments and the mechanism of actions that can help you to go and tackle that biology. Is rare, especially in solid tumors. It's rare to have just one alteration, one mutation. You identify it, you develop the drug, and you can give. There are examples that this is working, but are the exceptions. Most of the time, you need multiple mechanism of actions that you need to put together, because the cancer is so smart that create multiple way to resist.
Mm-hmm.
So, and our strategy is putting together different mechanism of action, developing drugs that are tackling the cancer in a different angle, and and so try to defeat it toward this approach. And today what we learn is the importance of the immune system. We have a soldier that technically can kill the cancer. Simply, they need to be able to recognize it and be there when the battle is happening. And this is all the immuno-oncology approach that we are having today. We are just at the beginning. This is one aspect. We have the T cells that
Mm-hmm.
are the soldiers, but we need to be sure that the T cells are going where the tumor is and they recognize the tumor, because the cancer make masks, is able to hide himself. So it's important. This is an aspect. So putting together more standard treatments and evolving the standard treatments together with the new treatment that are working through the immune system, I think is the way forward in this field. Don.
And it's great to watch the evolution as well. I mean, I'm not a scientist, in this same fashion, and so from the outside, for me to watch, us moving from T cells to NK cells, we're leveraging different areas of the body to try and again use that immune response to try and battle things. And to your even greater point, this idea that our bodies overall also have to support what's going to happen with it, with the different mechanisms of action as well. And so just having that clarity is so important.
We have one great opportunity today that, for instance, when I started my medical school was not here at all, and it's technology. The technology is helping us a lot, because imagine how the big data and artificial intelligence AI can help us in this work we are doing. It is much faster and accurate the way we can identify some targets in oncology, for instance, and then engineering molecules toward the targets much faster compared just years ago. It is also the technology can help us in making our drugs more targeted, more selective. There is a new class of drugs called antibody drug conjugates that fundamentally is a way to deliver standard chemotherapy in a more selected, smarter way. This is already making a huge impact in improving the activity of our medicines and having less side effects. And then again, putting together these novel technological medicines with medicines that can activate the immune system is the way that we can continue to improve and have a transformative regimens of treatments, because this is ultimately what will allow us to defeat cancer.
Yeah, so important. And I mean, it leads me to my next question as well for you, which is how do you balance the complex decisions that you have to make in terms of developing new cancer treatments, especially when you're thinking about safety and efficacy?
It's a great question. It's a really great question because today, because of what I was telling, is not anymore the times in which there is nothing, and we need to think a cancer patient journey in two ways. When you are in a setting which you can cure the cancer, and so the patient can have a really curative treatment. So if fortunately the disease is diagnosed earlier on, at a stage that can be eliminated through surgery, radiotherapy, or systemic therapies, or the unfortunate stage in which the disease is still is advanced, but the patient can live with it for many years. So it's very important in both situations, but even more in the second one, the latter one, to have treatments that allow the patient to run a normal life, a good life, you know. And this is difficult. This is why the balance, as a chief medical officer, is one of my main goal, to preserve the safety of our medicine and ensure that these are adequate for the patients that are receiving the treatment. So it's a delicate balance. This is why today we always call and assess what we call a benefit risk of a product, of a medicine. It's not only us, also the regulatory agencies, what they ultimately they're looking at. And the benefit risk is the efficacy that the treatment is giving to the patient in terms of controlling the disease, reducing the size of the tumor, but also in terms of the tolerability of the treatment, the quality of the life that the patient can continue to have, the symptoms eventually that the patient can experience from this treatment. These are absolutely critical, capital in every new product that we are developing. The benefit risk is at the top of the assessment when we start the development journey of the products. And the aim is to bring medicines that have more and more a better benefit risk profile in terms of more benefits and less risks, obviously.
Yeah, so important. The how does AstraZeneca's culture and vision influence your approach in terms of developing new treatments and managing your team?
AstraZeneca is a company that is very collaborative in the spirit, in the culture. I found that when I joined an organization very open to listen, also to external experts, to the external community, and very collaborative in the way our employees are operating. This is very important because what I was telling you before, this is a team sport. And we then have a great focus on science.
Mm.
The first thing in AstraZeneca, and not only in R&D, also in the other part of the organization, is we follow the science. The science is the first thing because we are a science company. So this is what we do. We try to innovate very much, embracing innovation. Innovation is technology, but is also data science, is also different solutions, digitalization. We really embrace innovation and try to use this following the science to bring and to develop medicine. This is in oncology and beyond oncology. Our aim culturally is really to bring transformative medicines to patients. I don't want a marginal benefits. I want a transformative. We need to think big. We think big. And this is the way you can ultimately then deliver important medicines, and you keep motivated the people working in this company. It's a company that is fully global. This is another aspect that I really enjoy. We have a large footprint in Asia, in China, in Japan. We have of course, headquarters in the United States. Is a company that is coming from a merge from a Swiss Sweden and Swedish and British company. is so we have a very strong presence also in Europe. So it's a fully global company. This give also you an idea that is a very diverse company, and I enjoy very much these aspects of this company. Our executive team is very diverse in terms of nationalities and backgrounds. So it's a company with a culture that fits very well the spirit of yeah, life science organization that needs to bring medicines to patients.
Yeah, it's one of those things that that I don't think you can really appreciate until you fully see like the real complexity of bringing together all of these thoughts and minds in terms of innovation. You know, so many different cultures, I feel like around the world, you know, contribute in different ways. And you know, having such a diverse experience, it has got to be, you know, just a great resource as well to have, you know, in your role.
Yeah, you know, one aspect in especially for my oncology role is actually this increase this discussion that we are having is becoming more and more relevant in terms of clinical trial diversity. You know, clinical trials are an opportunity for patients, cancer patient and every kind of patient in every therapeutic areas. Clinical trials are offering the best standard of care and innovative approaches, medicines. And we talk a lot about access to treatments, to medicines, but there is also a problem of access to clinical trials. You know, even in this country, United States, the access to clinical trials is very diverse, and we have really the duty, the mandate to increase and improve this. This is one area where I'm working very hard with our teams to increase this access to our clinical trial and increase the diversity of the population that is enrolled in our trial. You know, you need to imagine you wanna in your trial the population like the disease ultimately is affecting to. You follow? So you cannot just have one represent one ethnic group represented in the trial. This is a challenge because there are barriers that are different barriers: logistic barrier, educational barrier, access barriers that require to be overcome. But this is an important work we do. The other important aspects, and this is more on the development side, another challenge is how we run clinical trials. You know, you hear the scientific conferences and the press releases that there are multiple readouts of trials. This is important. This is the way you bring medicines to patients. But still, we are doing clinical trials like we did 20 years ago. And you know, clinical trials, when you ask patients, what is your, they are happy to be enrolled in a clinical trial. And when I ask them, what was your experience in this trial? Inevitably, they are telling you was not good
Mm-hmm.
because too many times to the clinic, too many lab tests, too many scans. I needed to fulfill a lot of and fill in a lot of forms. And so they are not, is not too much, is not enough patient centric. This is what also we are trying to change. And we have the tools today. We have the technology that allow us to ship the medicine to the patient home. We have the technology that give you a watch that can take your pulse and your O2. So you don't need to go to the hospital to do that test. So this is the way we are really trying to change the way we conduct clinical trials. More patient focus, less burden for also the sites that are running the trial, collecting the information that we really need to understand the medicines and the outcome of this trial, and ultimately making leaner, making faster, because then it's also cost effective. Without, of course, jeopardizing quality and everything. This is a big effort. It's easy to say, more difficult to implement, but I think we are going there. We are doing that. This is a major area of focus I have.
Yeah, you have, I mean, you touched on a couple of points, right? I mean, so having a distributed clinical trial is something that, you know, I feel like everybody's been talking about for a while now. You know, but in addition to that, you know, touching multiple populations where the access may not be as easy is something that I know previous podcast guests here have also, talked about as well, in terms of just wanting to see that that universal acceptance, and ability to bring in patients from lots of different, backgrounds, so that then that way it gives us the complete picture of how the medicine might perform whenever it's released. It's so important. And then, yeah, I mean, having the future of technology as well involved, and not sort of forcing people, back to the physician's office, especially whenever in some cases, that might not be as accessible either for, the person that has to go to the clinic multiple times either.
True.
So in terms of, I want to focus a little bit more on you for the next few questions. So what is your personal philosophy on leadership, especially, whenever I think about your evolving field in oncology? It just would be interesting to get your personal perspective on leadership.
I start with one basic concept. Leader cannot be technical expert in everything he does
Mm-hmm.
or she does. You need to know the field you are playing, but you cannot have all the answer yourself, correct? This is why being a leader means being able to pick the team that you need to win. In my view, at least the biggest leader I worked with also are those ones that were able to put together the best team. And it's an art, picking the right people, selecting the right people that you really need for the specific job that make your team more efficient and fill the gaps that you have is require times, require sometimes is an art. So this is leadership, in my view, is being able to put together the most efficient and high performing teams. That of course, not only in terms of business performance, but also in terms of how the team is functioning, diversity, culture, mix of culture. The teams that I worked that perform better in that I experienced in my career were the most diverse teams. Diversity increased performance, no doubt on that. So this is embracing diversity, and looking for the right people. I think is the one important aspect that I always pay attention. I continue to do. Then we operate in a science, in a science-driven business. So science, following the science and understanding the data, supporting some decisions is the other aspects that are at the base of how I function. I need to have the data, at least enough data, and try to consolidate everything that is possible. I give an example. Clinical trials are a science. Putting together clinical trials, the design, the population, the size, how you execute it, how you get the data from it, and how you fundamentally use for the approval of your medicine is a science. Needs to have a scientific approach. And you can get data point from multiple sources, and you need to be able to consolidate this. Then one difficult aspect that a leader must have is taking decisions without data.
Mm.
This is the difficult part. Most of the decision we are taking is, without data. So you need to use a part of your experience, but also as much as you know, and then ultimately you take a decision. Decision making process is what characterizes, in my view, leadership. If you're not able to take decision, this is not a good thing for a leader. But I mean, this is how I see it. But again, you play in this game, and then of course, last but not least, you need to inspire your organization. You need to give vision, because you cannot simply go one project at a time or one product at a time. You need to have a vision, and the vision is coming from the purpose. Developing cancer medicines or developing transformative medicines, even therapeutic area, is a purpose,
Mm-hmm.
is important. is important for humanity, is important for our self, our families, because everybody of us is affected by a dear close to us that died or is affected by a disease. So bringing new therapeutic options and new medicines is something very motivating. Then this is an important continuous vision that you need to bring and explain how your organization is continuing to do this in the most efficient way, in the most effective way, and in the most ethical way, of course.
Yeah. Yeah. And I want to go back to that point as well that you just mentioned a second ago in terms of the vision, right? When you have thousands of people around the world, you're not going to be there to help guide them on a daily basis. So you have to point to that North Star, which is your vision, in terms of where team, this is where we're going. And then the strategy leads us there. The step by step leads us there. And we all understand it. And that's what, helps to guide the, larger organizations. And it's important to sort of say, because I know that there are companies that are all sizes that watch us, in these podcasts. And I don't think that there's enough time that's spent in other organizations outside of large organizations doing that, right? So communicating that, the vision and the strategy of how you're going to achieve, the goal at the end of the day. And at some point in time, you're not going to have enough hours in the day and enough hands to help guide things unless people understand it or naturally doing it as well.
It's very important also, Don, being accessible. This is
Mm-hmm.
to me, at least I always appreciated leaders that were accessible to me when I was more the beginning of my career. And I try to make myself as accessible as I can. The number of hours in a day are what they are. You said very rightly, but being accessible is important. Being human is important. I try to share very often what I learned in my. I try to share. I try to lead by example, and it is very important to speak about your failures. We learn much more from failures than success. Much more. And I have very clear in my mind every single failure they experience because that stays. And actually, this is an important aspect to get the strength to overcome the failure, learn from it, and go to the next things and use that experience to have the next success. So this is something that I try to share as much as I can, and I think people seems to appreciate it.
Yeah. Yeah. It is an important aspect as well of, just understanding how you might learn from previous past experience in terms of what not to do as well is absolutely critical. So Cristian, there are three questions that I like to ask every guest. What inspires you?
Um, I think what inspires me is having somebody or an organization that have clear what is important to do, and but is able not just I mean speak about it, but have a plan
Mm-hmm.
to get what is going there to get there. I mean, this is every this job is still inspiring me a lot. I mean, having in mind the big picture of one day being able to defeat cancer is my inspiration, and I want to be in an organization and I want to lead an organization that has a plan to do that. This is what inspires me.
Very good. What concerns you?
What concerns me is the complexity that the world is having, the complexity that getting to that aspiration we need to face is actually something that motivates me,
Mm-hmm.
and dealing with complexity is a quality that every leader today must have, because the world is complex in every aspect. But the complexity means also putting together multiple pieces at the same time, and sometimes very different in their nature. So this is, and some of these pieces are more ready than others. This is a little bit concerning sometimes. For instance, bringing all this new technology into at the service of what we do, it at the time that we have is a challenge. And this is not a concern. I would say more a challenge. But this is an important challenge that we need to face. So this is the main challenge that I see. I don't have a major concerns. It's more the challenge and the pace we want to do. I am not very patient. I want things done rapidly now, and because I think it's important. And this is the challenge that we have to have. I don't want to wait, and sometimes we tend. This is the nature of human beings. We tend to do the things the same way because we know that way. But if you don't change, you cannot innovate simply. So sometimes what is really difficult is change management
Mm-hmm.
in the teams, in the people, in the mindset, and even more in a setting like drug development that is very regulated. So, but if we don't change, we cannot improve. We cannot go at the pace that we want. This is the bigger challenge I see for us, because if we don't change, if we don't do things differently, we cannot cope with the complexity.
Right. And I do feel like there's this push and pull in what you work on, right? There's the want to go faster and be innovative. And then there's also the safety and efficacy side, and you,
Yeah,
you have to balance them both in your role
correct,
every day. And
correct.
it's not like, this comes
Very,
without having to find that balance.
very right. Very, very right.
Yeah, yeah. Last question, what excites you?
Again, I told you, is looking every. I go to scientific symposium.
Mhm.
There are American Society Clinical Oncology Symposium, the European Society meeting, and everything, and looking at all what has been presented there and the advancement in oncology, and then looking what a company like AstraZeneca is bringing to that symposium with our medicine, with our studies, with our science, I think make me feel very, very proud and excited. Every advancement that we see when you have a standing ovation in these plenary sessions, these are things that, yeah, give you chills. And this is really exciting. It's
Yeah,
like being at a
absolutely.
concert of your favorite singer, and you are the plenary at ASCO, and you see a standing ovation. Maybe with one of your presentations, this give you excitement and being proud. Yeah.
Well, Cristian Massacesi, thank you so much for being on the Life Science Success podcast. I greatly appreciate you being here and sharing with us everything that you're working on at AstraZeneca. And I do look forward to seeing shifts in clinical trials and advancements in terms of the way that we approach things so that, we do take, the future in mind.
Thank you, Donna. Great pleasure being with you.
Thanks a
Bye.
lot.